All right, welcome back to the 10 Tabs Open podcast, episode 4. We interviewed today Ventura Rangel of Kansas City Women in Technology, and she is the executive operations director there. I have to tell you that this was an amazing interview because they have an absolutely incredible mission. And I'm just going to read their about statement on their website because I think it puts it all in perspective. It says, we're a grassroots organization helping to grow the number of women in technology careers in Kansas City. And they partner with different organizations in Kansas City. They have different companies that are very, very successful in Kansas City that understand their message, that push their message, and that they partner with. And she was an amazing, amazing, amazing representative of their 501c3 non-for-profit organization. So, Ventura, thank you so much for coming on. And everybody else, I hope you enjoy. Thanks a lot. All right, awesome. We're good to go now.
Okay.
Everything's working.
Nice.
Yeah. So we have Ventura Rangel with us today from Kansas City Women in Technology, which is a non-for-profit group, and I'll let her explain what it is about. But I wanted her to come on because I think this is obviously something that we've seen now kind of play out for the last, I guess, 5 years without question. 10 years is really when this push has been coming in, not only with technology, and I know I see the big thing on your website is coding, but just stem cells overall, trying to get women involved in STEM. Did I say stem cells? Jesus,
You did.
That's where my brain goes.
It's all good.
STEM fields, which is
Yes.
very different, but in STEM fields, so science, technology, Jesus, I'm having a rough day today. I'm really excited that my house sold, so everything's going out the window at this point. But science, tech, engineering, mathematics, those kind of fields. So I thought it was awesome that there was actually an organization called Kansas City Women in Technology. I wanted to reach out to you, and you guys were awesome about responding almost immediately. We got snowed out last week, so not able to really get over here, but I'm glad you were able to make it, so thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm
Absolutely.
very excited to be here.
Definitely, definitely. So you are the executive operations director. So what does that involve?
Yes. So first, I'll talk a little bit more about what KCWIT is.
You got it.
And what we do. So like you said, we're a non-for-profit group, and we are 100% volunteer run. And our goal is to grow the number of women in technology career paths right here in Kansas City. We're not a part of any international group or even a national group. We're our own thing right here in Kansas City. And about 5.5 years or so ago, our founder, Jennifer Waddell, she was working at VML at the time, and she had this really great supportive group of dudes around her. And they were awesome, but she wanted to talk about shoes and The Bachelor, and they didn't really want to do that.
Fair enough.
So she's like, okay, maybe I need to go and find my group. Maybe I need to start building this community, and that's kind of where KCWIT was born.
Gotcha.
And since then, we've grown. We've got a bunch of different things that we do now. 4 main components of KCWIT. The first is Tech Talks. That's kind of where we started. Just a networking night where a bunch of people can get together, and there's usually some kind of a tech topic that we talk about.
Okay.
And that ranges from just about everything. We've done cryptocurrency before. We have one coming up later this week on resume and LinkedIn, like building those up. And we have a panel of recruiters that are joining us to give their insights. But really all different kinds of things.
Yeah.
So we also have 3 programs that we have on the second Saturday of every month. We call that our program weekend.
Yep.
So we start off in the morning with Coder Dojo, which is for girls and boys, usually age 7 to 17.
Gotcha.
So long as they can read and follow some simple instructions and use a keyboard, they're more than welcome to come.
Gotcha.
And they learn basics of coding. So they start off with Scratch, which is kind of like block code.
Gotcha.
And they have projects that they can work on. And once they start mastering those skills, they can move on to more difficult subjects.
Gotcha.
We have kids in there that are starting to make their own websites and apps.
Nice.
They've been coming for the full five plus years that we've been doing it. And through that time, they've mastered so much that they're actually making their own things now.
Gotcha.
one girl in particular, she's making an app that teaches people how to do CPR properly.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
Yeah.
Next up in the afternoon on that second Saturday, we have coding and cupcakes.
Okay.
And this
I did see that one. That looked fun.
Yeah, it's tons of fun. All of our programs are super fun. But this one was born because we were trying to get more girls to come to Coder Dojo.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd go and we'd be tabling at some STEM event at a school. And we get all these moms that'd be like, oh, that's really good for my son. But I don't know if that's right for my daughter.
Right.
And we're like, crap, that's not what we want.
Come on. This is what we're doing.
Right. This is a table full of ladies telling you to bring your daughters to these events, and it still wasn't getting through to them. So we came up with this specific program that's only for girls.
Yeah.
And their guardians. So dads and grandpas and
Mm-hmm.
uncles can come as well.
Yeah.
But it is very girly.
Yeah.
They build a cupcake website.
Mm-hmm.
Or we've started a new one last year where they can program a friendship bracelet called a Jewel Bot.
Gotcha.
And those are pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. So what is it like? You said friendship bracelet, a Jewel Bot. How do you program something like? Is it just something that like has letters that scroll across, or what?
No.
What is it?
So it is. It's a piece of hardware.
Mm-hmm.
It's Arduino based.
Uh-huh.
And they are coding it to do different things. So, for instance, let's say they have a friend that has a Jewel Bot that's nearby.
Yeah.
Then their Jewel Bot will light up that specific color that they've coded for their friend.
Oh, nice.
And there's some other stuff
Yeah.
that they can do as well, but that's kind of the big one, the fun
That's
one.
awesome.
So if they're at school and their friend's coming down the hall, they'll know before they even see their friend.
Yeah.
Because that little light will shine on their
That's fantastic.
Their bracelet. Yeah. So those are our two programs for kids. And then on that second Saturday still, we round up the night with coding and cocktails.
So that looks like even more my speed.
Yes. Unfortunately, it's only for ladies.
I know.
21 and up. Because we do serve handcrafted cocktails.
Nice.
From a local a bartending place.
Yeah.
And those ladies, they come in, and we get all different kinds of ladies at
Mm-hmm.
that event. We get everyone who, like people who haven't ever coded before,
Mm-hmm.
and are just interested in learning more.
Yeah.
We get ladies who are coming from some kind of a tech field or a tech company.
Yeah.
But maybe they're in like sales or recruiting or something like that, and they have seen all this hype
Mm-hmm.
around coding and programming, and they want to try it themselves. So
Yeah.
they'll come looking for a career change,
Nice.
and kind of getting their toes wet in that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also encourage those who are already established, software engineers or programmers, to come and mentor these
Mm-hmm.
ladies. And share their stories on how they got into the field.
Right.
Because there's so many different ways now to
Yeah.
get into programming and tech in general.
It's absolutely incredible when you talk about career change. I mean, there was a period of time about 2 years ago or so where I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. Like, we got the house, I was rehabbing everything, and just didn't know where I was going to go. I had my real estate license, so that's where I ended up. But I was looking at different things, and I was amazed at the amount of the large-scale companies in Kansas City, especially somebody like Cerner, that just has position after position after position open for web developers and letters and numbers that I have no idea what I'm looking at. Like this, it was just never my field. It was never like anything that it always drew me because it's been fascinating to me what people are able to do.
Yeah.
You get on any app and you just look through it and just go, how, what? So it's incredible, but the amount of jobs that are available for those positions are great. So it's great for something like your organization to not only get people interested, but like you were just saying, to have mentors come in and say, I'm doing this, here's what you need to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And we encourage, for cocktails, we do encourage the ladies that are coming to mentor that they do have some kind of a background as a programmer.
Mm-hmm.
But our other programs, they have volunteers and mentors as well.
Nice.
But they don't necessarily need as in-depth knowledge
Right.
as the cocktails team does.
Gotcha.
A lot of the mentors for the kids programs, they're really just showing the kids how to Google.
Oh, yeah. That's okay. It's still getting them interested in it. It's awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
But it also helps those mentors to kind of build the knowledge that they already have, like solidify it in their mind, that you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And that helps some of the newer people that are transitioning from maybe finishing up the curriculum with Coding and Cocktails, they can come and help these kids.
Oh, well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so when you've got Coding and Cocktails, if you're somebody that's brand new coming into this event and you just walk in, like, what's it look like? Is it just everybody's sitting around a computer? Are you guys having a conversation, a presentation, or is it just a lot of mingling and here's what we're talking about?
It's kind of a little bit of all of that.
Okay.
So we, I'm going to toot our own horn for a little bit.
Do it. That's what it's about.
Casey Witt does a really awesome job of making our events inclusive and as warm and inviting as possible for these ladies.
Good.
It's very difficult sometimes for ladies out there. So we want to give them a safe and a stress-free of an environment for them to come and learn this new thing, because it can be scary.
Yeah.
So we have the alcohol there to
Very
take
good.
off the edge of it.
Absolutely.
But there are so many familiar faces. If you come to any of our other programs, you're bound to see familiar faces from all of our other stuff. But a mix of just being as welcoming as we can. It really, really helps them to feel settled in. But what it actually looks like is they come in and they get checked in, which usually there's like 5 ladies waiting at the check-in table to make sure everybody's taken care of. And then we help them find a spot in the room, and they bring their own laptops. We do have some, like if they don't have one, then they're more than welcome to borrow one of ours.
Nice.
We do encourage that they have their own so they can continue working outside of the class. But if that's not an option for them, then we totally have you covered. No worries. And they come in, they get settled in their spot, and usually we do like a nice welcome so you can meet who you're going to be spending the day with or the evening with. You find out who the people are that run that program and a little bit more about Casey Witt in general. And then they get into the presentation. And they've gone back and forth a little bit on how that looks. So, and all of that is feedback based. So we've done it to where they will have the full presentation and then you have work time. Or they've done it in chunks. So you'll have a little bit of a presentation, work time to work on that specific part, and then more presentation and kind of go back and forth through that.
Nice.
But always at the end, there's time for you to ask questions, and there's always mentors there if you ever get stuck on anything.
Very good.
And they can see it in your face.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
If you're having a problem or if you're stuck, they'll come over and say, "Hey, you doing okay?"
Yeah.
And offer their support if you need it.
Well, that's awesome. And I mean, the word support kind of comes out constantly in your conversation. Just support. And I think it's a great system to have, and especially when you go from the younger crowd to a slightly older crowd and people that are just trying to figure it out. Like, you want to encourage that.
Yeah.
You don't want to get into a situation. A lot of times, in something like a university or even just grade school, sometimes like you'll get a teacher that everybody is fearful of going to because they don't help you along. They don't help you to learn. They're just yelling at you and telling you what they know.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to have an organization where you guys know exactly probably what that feels like from that side too.
Oh, yeah.
But then you can come in and say, like, no, we're all here to support each other. We're here for each other because this is a group that, it's part of your mission statement. It's, you're trying to get those people involved. You're trying to get more women in technology involved. The best way to do that is to make a comfortable environment for everybody to come into.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what, in the organization where you have 7 to 17-year-olds,
Yes.
7, it doesn't seem young because I watch kids. I mean, I have a 3.5-year-old and, he has a cousin that's 4.5 and, so on and so forth. And their comfort with technology is crazy to me. Like, it absolutely makes sense because it's what they're born around. It's just like anything else in the world. Like, you just learn your environment. But do you see a marketable difference or a market difference between the 7-year-olds that come in and the 17-year-olds as far as like their initial adaptation to the technology? Because I've got to imagine even within that 10-year period of time, there's got to be not a difference between like the 17-year-old's obviously going to know more than the 7, but there's got to be some basic skills that are starting to come up even starting at that young age to be able to say, like, we don't even need to cover blah anymore. We don't even need to cover opening an app, turning on the computer, doing this, because we already know that, as opposed to somebody like me that grew up with, the green screen Oregon Trail. So,
Same.
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah.
I think it's more so that they are confident.
Yeah.
So another component of that program is at the end, if they've completed the project for the day, they get the chance to come up and present their work.
Oh, nice.
So we're not only building these, coding skills, these coding foundations, we're also building those soft skills, self-confidence, public speaking, all those kinds of things as well. And I feel like a lot of times it's the younger kids that are first to jump up or say, hey, are you ready to start taking submissions for presentations? The older kids, I don't think they do that as often.
They too cool for school?
Maybe.
Yeah.
But they seem to be just a bit more shy.
No, that's understandable. I mean, I remember being a teenager.
Yeah,
it's a fun time.
Awkward.
Yeah,
it's awkward for everybody.
And at 7 years old, I was probably the same way. Just like, yeah, whatever, it's
Yeah.
all good. I'm hanging out with older kids. I'm happy and good to go.
Yeah.
And what's been the what success story do you have from that you can share? Because I'm sure you've got a lot of people that probably came in, and sometimes I'm sure it's just at their parents. Like, you need to go check this out. You need to see if you like it or not.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure a lot of times you'll have, not a lot of times, sometimes you probably have kids that come in and they just feel like they have to do it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
But there've got to be kids that are excited too. But is there a kid that
yeah.
you just turned around?
Well, yeah. Going back to that girl that I mentioned in the beginning.
Yeah.
She started coming. Her parents were really an advocate for her to learn how to code. She's always been really excited about it.
That's awesome.
And so she came in and she started with just the basics, learning Scratch and things like that, and she picked up on it. And I think within the next few years, she was starting to dive a little bit deeper into more complex things. So she started learning some JavaScript and some other things to start building on these ideas that she had.
Yeah.
That she had created herself. And that's when she started doing things like the CPR app and other like community-based projects. And seeing her just kind of grow has been absolutely amazing. We've actually had her come and speak at a couple of events.
Wow.
She was in middle school or early high school at that time, and she did it.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Well, and what a resume to build up too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, when you go to, if you're looking to go to college, definitely if she's going into some technology-based field, but even if she's not, it's like, look at the work that she put into this. Like, she's going to succeed just because she is able to say, yeah, I built this app. It's for CPR. It's community-based. It involves coding. That's a wonderful thing to be able to say that you're already doing. You've got to be steps ahead of other people.
Oh yeah. And she's taking an idea that she had and turning it into a physical thing.
Yeah.
Which I don't think you can say that of many kids.
No, not at all. I mean, it sounds weird, but it used to be like shop class. You like made something.
Right.
But in this world we're in, it's like everything's on this. It's on the computer. It's on an app. So to me, it's absolutely amazing that's going on. And you've got, I mean, I'm looking at your screen now. You have a lot of volunteers, and they're all volunteers, you said.
Yes, 100% volunteers.
Yeah, and that's a large organization for something that's all a volunteer effort. I mean, it's obviously fun, everybody's having a good time, but the effort is, this is our goal. So it's great that you have so many people that are coming together. So how many people do you have normally at these events that you hold? I mean, I'm sure it's different.
Yeah, so for each of our different programs, it's a little bit different. For Coder Dojo, we usually get about 100 kids or so.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then for cupcakes, we like to keep that a little bit more personal. So I think we've got that open to about 20 pairs. So
gotcha.
A daughter and guardian pairs.
Okay.
Cocktails, that program has grown so quickly that we have been trying to keep up with it. Yeah. Because we want to try to service as many ladies that want to come.
Absolutely.
To these programs.
Yeah.
So we, I think, are at 80 maybe.
Oh wow,
that one.
That's fantastic.
80 a session. And then for our tech talks that we hold on the third Wednesday of the month, that kind of varies on what it is that we're talking about. We can get anywhere between 45 to 100 ladies. Yeah. Or attendees. That one's open to everybody.
Wow.
So yeah, it's kind of crazy.
That's great though. I mean, to have that kind of organization with the amount of people that you have, and then to also see the results from that is just amazing. Yeah. And do you ever partner with other organizations? And the reason that I ask is you're shaking your head yes, so that's awesome. But the reason that I ask is I had John Teasdale on, who's kind of the promotions director for, I can't remember his exact position, but for Literacy KC, he came on.
Okay.
And I know they work with a women's shelter that's fairly close to their building because, some of the women that come in there, they need help. They need to get their GED. They need to kind of, be helped and further along. And even some of them just need to, learn how to, do basic things, read, that kind of thing.
Right.
So they bring them in and help them out. So KC Women Technology seems like an organization that is built for that. So how do you guys partner with other organizations?
Yeah, definitely. So we've got a few different community partners. A few of them are other like user groups in town.
Yeah.
So user groups are typically like language specific programming groups.
Oh, gotcha.
Or technology specific programming groups. So there's like a Google developer group. There's a Python KC group that does Python development. But we'll team up with them quite often.
Yeah.
A lot of those different groups, just because there's a real clear crossover.
Right.
And they want to promote ladies in tech as well. But there's also other community groups in town that we'll partner with that we see a clear connection with.
Yeah.
One of those has been One Woman KC.
Mm-hmm.
And they are aimed at helping ladies in town kind of get on their feet. Maybe a career change or things like that.
Right.
And so we've partnered with them to not only help promote what they have going on, but they do the same for us. And
Nice.
if they see ladies that have an interest in technology, they'll send them to our programs and the same. If we come across ladies that are just needing a little bit of help, we'll send them their way. They also do a lot of like resume stuff, so that
Nice.
helps with us, because we get a lot of people that are like, how do I do this on my resume, or what's the best way to kind of set that up? And we're a lot more focused on gaining the skills, and not so much of like actually writing out your resume, but they do that.
Yep.
So when we get those requests, we'll usually send them their way.
Well, that's fantastic because you know what your goal is, you know what your mission is, I'd say like what you're good at, what your niche is, and then to reach out and actually be able to have people that are good at exactly what they're looking to do. That's all you can ask for. That's perfect.
Right. Yeah. Our big goal is building community in a lot of different ways. So we do that with our own group and our programs that we put on, but we also reach out to those groups to build that bigger community of organizations. And then another thing that KC WIT does that I absolutely loved, and you kind of touched on a bit, is we build leaders in the community, and that's a big deal to me. It's great to throw these really awesome, events and programs for everybody, but we're building up the skills in people that are helping support this mission. So when I started with KC WIT, there was about 4 of us on the leadership team.
Wow.
And as we've grown, we're at almost 40 now.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's insane. But to be able to help that many people reach for the goals that they have, to become the leadership in their organization or their job, their career, we're just building that great foundation to help support these people long term. Yeah.
Well, it's amazing how that helps you gain just in the long run too, not only in the fact that you're helping build leadership, your membership is growing, your leadership is growing, but also when those advocates go out into the rest of the world, they can say, I either started here or I learned through this organization helped me. And that's always such a big deal. If you can go through an organization, they help you get to the point where now you can be an advocate for them. And it's like anybody, anybody's alma mater, like you're always proud to have gone to your alma mater. And so you're an advocate for it. So it's got to be the same thing with an organization like this, especially one that, you're not going, you're not spending $30,000-$40,000 a year going to college to get a degree. You're starting out trying to figure out if this is for you. And if it is for you, I'm sure you guys learn, just between your organization and partnering with others, they've got to be able to learn a significant amount before they ever decide like, okay, now I'm going to take the next step and go further, change my career, or, go get a degree or a certificate in order to change my career.
Yeah, definitely. And we encourage that too.
Yeah.
So we've also built relationships, partnerships with the different boot camps and stuff like that are in town. They seem to be popping up like every other month. But we remain pretty active in building those relationships because we make it pretty clear, like you're not going to learn everything to be able to get your first job right after you're done with this. This is just kind of the foundation for you to try out everything that goes into being a programmer, and check and make sure you're comfortable with it. This is really what you want to do before you go and start spending those big bucks on that certificate.
And on programming, what is the, when somebody comes in and they're first interested. They haven't ever seen the screen before. They don't know what they're doing at all, but they come in and they're like, I want to see if this is something for me. What is the biggest surprise people have? Because the biggest surprise for me was building like the back end. When I had a buddy of mine show me how he was programming his site or his app, it's like, that's not what I expected. That looks really basic, and I have no idea how you make all of these beautiful images and things happen with that. So is that a surprise, or is there something else that people...
Yeah, I think the surprise is really just the fact of them realizing they can do it.
Yeah.
And it's not some, super mathematician in a basement.
Yeah.
Of his parents'
14
house.
screens on the walls.
Right,
30,
pizza boxes and
exactly.
shit. No, none of that. When they realize that they can do it, that's not only a great feeling for them, that's a great feeling for everybody else in the room.
Yeah.
Too. All the leadership that's put in hours of trying to, build this curriculum and make sure this program goes on every month. And the mentors that are there donating their time, like everybody feels that.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the biggest aha moment is when they're like, I can do this. And it's not as hard as I thought it was.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And and it's just like anything else I've got to imagine. It's like, it's not difficult when you know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And so the knowing what you're doing thing is the most terrifying part. Like you can tell somebody build a house and they kind of have a concept like, oh, I've seen a foundation go in the ground. I've seen this happen, but I have no idea what the first step is. Mm-hmm. It's got to be the same thing. Taking that first step is such a difficult thing.
Oh yeah.
Somebody stepping in the gym, somebody trying to, create a new recipe, somebody trying to learn a new skill. Every single one of those things, a lot of times the bravest thing you can do is just jump, just go.
Right.
So,
and we've also realized, based on proven scientific facts, like ladies take that a little bit more hard than guys do. It's a little bit more difficult for them to just take that jump. Yeah. They want to feel 100% prepared and ready and knowledgeable on what it is that they're doing before they take that leap. Yeah. And so they usually shy away. That's been kind of the biggest thing. And so for us to just kind of say, hey, just come and hang out with us. We've got a lot of really awesome ladies that are there to help if you get stuck. We've got great food and great drinks.
Exactly.
Yeah. That the only thing that you need to stress about is just making sure you get here on time.
Yeah. Well, that's a wonderful way to look at it, to be able to say, like, the only thing you have to do is just get here. Mm-hmm. Just like anything else. You just have to commit to that step. Will help you out the rest of the way. Oh, yeah. It helps when you have a drink in your hand. Yeah. And you can just chill out and relax for a bit. But, it also helps that that, this is an organization of people like you. This is something where, you have like-minded people. A lot of people in that room have the exact same questions, whether it's cocktails, cupcakes, or if you're 7 years old. Right. It's like a lot of those people might have the exact same questions and harbor the same feelings that you do about not knowing what's going on. Mm-hmm. But if you're able to just take that step, if you're able to move towards that, you might discover something that you really like. Or at the worst, I guess, you discover that you don't. Right. And you're good.
That's kind of where I fall. Yeah. In all of this. I started kind of a funny story. Mm-hmm. My husband did a local boot camp that's no longer around to learn how to do iOS development.
Oh, gotcha.
So that's making iPhone and iPad apps. Gotcha. And he was a tech recruiter before then. Yeah. And he was seeing all these jobs come across his table. Really, really well-paying jobs. Yeah. And the candidates that he was submitting for these roles, they didn't have a college degree in computer science. Yeah. Or anything like that. They were self-taught and they had learned on their own. Mm-hmm. And he was like, well, I can do that. So he went and took this boot camp, and it was like 9 weeks. And his passion and his drive for it was like absolutely amazing.
That's awesome.
He wanted to do that all the time. Yeah. And he ended up putting, I think, 3 apps in the App Store in those 9 weeks. Just absolutely amazing. Yeah. And so being, a bystander and watching him do all of that, I was like, oh man, maybe I should do this too. That's awesome, though. Yeah. So I started going back to school, and kind of around that time, KC Women in Tech started. Mm-hmm. And he's like, hey, there's this new group in town. You should go to one of their meetings and check it out. And so it just so happened to be their very first one.
Nice.
And so I went, and I absolutely loved it. And so that's who I can attribute.
That's fantastic. Yeah. But that's a great story. I mean, when you have somebody, next to you, I've followed, podcasts, and I've followed stories, and I've read all these stories where that it happens. It's like there's an aha moment for one person, and then it doesn't seem that crazy that in the same household you would have the same interests.
Right.
And so when you have that and you see your partner succeed and you see that's happen, like it's not that crazy to think like, okay, what is it you're doing? Because now I'm interested.
Right.
Now I at least want to get an idea of what you're doing so that we can kind of share ideas. And especially something like that where you see something go into the app store, it's like to me, that's like I have no idea what that feels like. Like with the the podcast is about as technologically savvy as I can get, and really, this is just old school radio, is all that is. So I mean, to see something like that is amazing, and to hear that it was a household is that's just a cool story.
Yeah. So I started going to school and doing all of that, and I quickly realized like coding is not for me. I love technology. I'm happy my husband loves to code.
Yep.
And all of these wonderful ladies that are around me love to code as well, but not for me.
Yep, there you go.
It's not interesting to me.
But I mean, you took the step, you looked at it, and it's like, okay, well, not for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could do it if I wanted to.
Yeah.
But I like people a lot.
Yep.
And so I like to interact with people much more.
Gotcha. I mean, on your profile, I think it says like you fell in love with the organization of like getting people places, getting these events organized and everything.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I came in, was the event organization aspect of this. Right before I joined the leadership team, and that was about the time that I was starting to try to explore coding a little bit more. And I was looking for different like workshops and things like that I could attend outside of just school.
Gotcha.
Get more hands-on, start building my portfolio, those kinds of things. And I saw one that was first for students specifically called CodeDay.
Yeah.
And it was a national hackathon for students. And so I think I saw the closest one was in Iowa. And so I messaged them. I was like, hey, when are you going to have one in Kansas City? And they're like, well, why don't you have one in Kansas City?
Okay.
I had never done any kind of big event planning like that.
Right.
I sure as hell never done a hackathon. So, luckily, they had some like steps and stuff in place that made it pretty easy to just kind of jump in and do it. But after successfully holding that hackathon twice, Jennifer was like, hey, you're going to come and do events for us now.
Nice.
Because you did a really good job.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So that was awesome.
Yeah. How many people came to them?
The first one, we had about 60 to 65 kids.
Oh, man, that's fantastic for your first event.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
And then the second one, we had around 80 kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, so, man, that's a market. That's fantastic.
Yeah. And it was kind of insane. There weren't very many adults there. Like, I had mentors and volunteers and stuff like that to help out. But I was kind of the one running the show for all of these kids.
Oh, fun.
And just the parents being so trusting of me, leaving their kids with me overnight.
Yeah.
Was kind of insane. But
really?
Yeah. You're really going to do that?
Okay.
All right. But seeing the things that they created, oh my gosh, I think I cried both years just seeing how amazing it was, and them being so thankful for me just hosting that event. Yeah. It was so worth it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow. So, event organizer extraordinaire.
I guess.
Not coder.
No.
But again, it speaks to, what we were talking about earlier. It's like you have the support system. When you start learning things, you realize what you're into, what you're not. But every single person in that leadership team probably, I mean, you're the person that they go to organize the events. I mean, if you don't have that and you just have people that code, then you don't have KC Women Technology.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to have the well-rounded thing to make sure that people come to these events so they can explore, so they do know about it. So I think that's awesome. I mean, the fact that you guys have a broad spectrum of individuals that can actually come together and say, we're going to do this is great.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I do like that about our leadership team, though, as well. A lot of them, I would say a majority of the roles that we have on our leadership team are not technical.
Oh, yeah?
They're not needed.
Yeah.
They don't need to be technical.
Gotcha.
There are a few, like the curriculum directors. And
yeah, they probably need to know.
Kind of important. But a lot of our leadership team aren't coders.
Yeah.
they're interested in it,
Mm-hmm.
like I used to be.
Yeah.
Or they have a passion for it and that kind of stuff. But yeah, especially on my team, the operations team.
Yeah.
We don't have as many technical people.
Gotcha. And do you guys follow the numbers as far as like year over year, how many women are getting into these technology careers? Because I've got to imagine it's more and more. I mean, my wife is an attorney, and it used to be, not even that many decades ago, if you were a female attorney, you probably weren't going to move up the ladder at all, let alone even becoming one decades before that.
Mm-hmm.
So, now though, after, she's graduated, I can't remember what exactly the year was that she graduated from law school, but right now I saw a statistic, I think it was 2016 or 2017, there were 55% of those enrolled in law school were females.
Yeah.
And that is just completely flipped from what it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got to imagine, especially with the push and with organizations like yours, those numbers just have to be increasing year by year by year.
Yeah, they definitely are. The average, I believe, I can't remember
Mm-hmm.
off the top of my head, but last year they had an average, and I think women made up just under half.
Oh, wow.
Of technology careers. But in Kansas City, we made up just over half.
Yeah.
So I feel, and I feel like I'm qualified to say this based on the data and the stuff that we're doing,
Mm-hmm.
that Casey Witt has had a big hand in creating that over half percent for
That's
Kansas
fantastic.
City.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. I mean, organizations like that tackle just, everybody seems like, when you see the large scale organizations that they try to like help 50 different things, like those are wonderful, but you've got to have community based organizations that also help those. I don't even want to say niche markets, like females in technology is not necessarily a niche anymore because
Mm-hmm.
technology has grown so much. But what it means to the city to have an organization like you and several others is that we can point to that and say, like, look at this, look at how our community came together without the city government doing anything, state, federal, nothing like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was just, they saw a need, they addressed it, and now they have 80 people coming to every single event where they have cocktails and coding, and we're good to go.
Yeah.
And we don't have to touch it, but you can come out into the community and say, look what we're doing. Now, how can we go even further?
Definitely, yeah. And that's kind of where we're looking for the future is ways that we can expand this and continue doing all of this wonderful work.
Yeah.
And try to reach as many people as we possibly can. All the people in Kansas City that want or are interested in learning how to code, we want to try to help them.
Yeah.
It's just finding a way to do it.
Absolutely.
With
Yeah.
all volunteers.
Yeah, all volunteers,
Yeah.
and you've got to, everybody's competing for the same dollars as far as like donations and things like that to be able to have those events. What have you found is the best way to kind of get the word out for you guys? Is it to just continue to have the events and create advocates for you? Or is it, do you kind of go out and seek donations from like grants or things like that? What's kind of the process that you guys have gone through to continue that growth?
Yeah, so we do a little bit of all of that.
Gotcha.
We definitely rely on our word of mouth
Mm-hmm.
and those community advocates that come to our events and really witness it firsthand to spread that word into the community.
Yeah.
We also do, we have a full social media marketing team.
Mm-hmm.
I think right now there's 6 ladies on that team.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic. That's a good
yeah.
marketing team.
Right. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And then I think in addition to that, there's 3 that are kind of like on the edge. Like we've got public relations, we've got the newsletter, we've got a designated creative director and a content director that are just focused on how Casey Witt is distributed to the community, what those graphics look like what our voice is, and all those kinds of things. They all work on that.
Gotcha.
That's their whole role with Casey Witt is that. But we also have on the operations team, I think 5 different roles that are just focused on outreach for the community.
Mm-hmm.
We've got community outreach that's just focused, like the community outreach role is just focused on going to different community events. We call them tabling nights, where they can go and set up a booth and they just spread the word about what we're doing.
Yeah.
We've got the strategic partnerships role that's focused on building those relationships with other groups so we can spread the word of us to those groups and just kind of have word of mouth that way.
Yeah.
We also have diversity and inclusion chair that's just focused on reaching those groups that we're not reaching right now. whether that be going to schools and talking to technology classes, or going to different community events in those areas that we just aren't reaching for whatever reason.
Right.
We're trying to tackle it as many ways as we possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said before, we want as many people that want to come.
Yeah.
So yeah, we try to do whatever we can.
Yeah. Well, it's good to have the foresight to reach out to not only to other groups, but to have the foresight to try to see the problems before they become a bigger issue.
Definitely.
Like making sure that you have as many people coming in as possible, making sure that whether it's neighborhood by neighborhood or city by city or suburb by suburb, making sure that people do come in.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, that's absolutely amazing. And do you have any companies that have reached out to you guys and said, I think you're doing a great job. What can we do to help?
Oh yeah, definitely. So we right now we're run pretty much on sponsorships
Mm-hmm.
from different companies and stuff from within the community, and so places like Cerner and Garmin
Mm-hmm.
have been regular sponsors of ours. Also, some of the local startups and things like that have been advocates of ours as well, like C2FO and Veriship and companies like that are local to Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
Have their roots right here, and see how impactful they can be by helping their community.
Yeah.
And so they've donated to us to make sure that we can continue doing all the wonderful things that we're doing, and we're always so grateful for that.
Well, that's fantastic. And I'm sure those organizations, the startup organizations, know how important it is to have some of these skills, like know how important it is to discover these things early, because I mean, especially when you're trying to start a company, you're trying to keep things, going, or you're trying to add somebody on. It's like, it's got to be tough for them, as positive it is that, Cerner and Garmin are helping you guys out and they're helping you guys out. When I'd go to like 1 Million Cups down at the Kauffman Foundation, it's like you'd go down there and you'd hear stories about people like, yeah, I'd love to be able to try to bring somebody on, but I'm a startup and Cerner's offering 6 figures.
Yeah.
I can only do so much.
Right,
So
right.
to have a community built around that is pretty good. What were you going to say? I'm sorry.
Yeah. But there's also kind of to counter their point.
Yeah.
There's pros and cons for working for a big company or for a startup.
Yeah.
So play up your pros.
Exactly. Yeah, especially your percentages, man.
Right? Yeah.
You want to bring somebody on, do it.
Another great thing that we've kind of started this past year is a job board, specific for our members or people that come to
Oh, that's great.
to our events and stuff. And we've kind of seen like these companies, they want qualified talent. They want to spread the diversity within their organizations, their companies, but they don't really know how to go about it. So we started this job board to kind of help them, but also help our community as well, because we do have a lot of newbies to this field. And so we've kind of have this understanding with these companies that are posting that, hey, you need to give these people a shot.
Yeah.
And the jobs that we have posted on there, they've been vetted by us. So they're companies that we know will treat those people right.
That's great. So as you kind of progress through and you've seen, your successes, I'm sure there have been moments where you had to learn from, and just events that you kind of like go, okay, well, that wasn't exactly what we want to do. Here's the direction that we're going to move. As you're going through that and you plan for the future, what are you guys looking to do? I mean, obviously growth is number one. We want to be able to grow, bring more people in, get people more involved in this. Yeah. But as far as like reaching out or new events or new ideas, what's the future hold for KC Women in Technology?
Sure. So right now, Kansas City in general is kind of losing some of the big venue sponsors that we've had in the past.
And what do you mean? I'm sorry.
So we all of our venues have been sponsored. We haven't ever paid
gotcha.
for a venue before.
I gotcha.
But for whatever reason, it's kind of this past year, at the end of this past year, a few of our big ones that we've had, they've kind of said, hey, we're not going to renew our lease, or hey, we've had budget cuts, or whatever. We can't host these events anymore. So a big goal for us is to have a brick and mortar that is a place for KC Wit to call physical home. Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of the big thing on the horizon for us. That way we can make sure we continue these programs for as long as we can pay rent.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's good. I mean, that also probably creates a new I guess, system for you too, a new goal for you, where you know, if you're the event organizer and you're the person that they go to and brought on to say like, we're going to absolutely do this. I mean, that's even more outreach. That's even more, you know, trying to get more and more people there, because the more you have, the better you are.
Right.
And so I would hope some of those companies are willing to help out and bring up. Will that involve like maybe a couple of bigger events, like bring more of the community in, or just kind of continuing the same thing?
Maybe. I think it's one thing we don't do a lot of right now that we're just starting to is starting to reach out for some of those bigger grants that different places have available.
Gotcha.
That's not something that we used to do. We run very, very lean.
Yeah.
I mean, it used to be a few $1,000s a year.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Just very, very lean, as lean as we can. And any money that we bring in goes straight back to the organization. So I think if we're wanting to reach for some of these goals, then we need to start targeting some of those bigger grants so that we can accomplish that.
Gotcha.
So I think that's definitely on the horizon.
Very nice. And you said you've been around 5 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
just
so
over 5 years.
So it's not like you guys have been around for 30 years and you're just now starting the grant process.
No. A lot of grants won't even accept your application if you're not over 5 years anyway. So.
Gotcha. So well, perfect timing then. So you guys know what you got to do.
Yeah. So I'd say that's probably a big goal for us.
Gotcha.
In addition to that, we'd also like to bring on a couple of paid staff members, just to kind of take care of all of that.
All
that stuff full time.
Yeah.
Dealing with property management and all that stuff. Yeah.
I mean, grant writing that could be a full-time job. I mean, how many organizations do you hear about that have full-time grant writers?
Yeah.
Like almost all the big all the big nonprofits do, just because that's, if you can get it, and it's worth every penny of it.
Right. So I think that was one of the roles, and then an executive director would kind of take care of not only making sure everything for the entire organization runs well, but also that the building and all that's taken care of.
Gotcha.
So those are two big ones. I'd say the last one is trying to find some kind of program that will accommodate kids, ladies, in the like high school to just before drinking age bracket.
Oh, the Gap area. Yeah, that like 18 to 20 and 364 days.
Yeah. So it's really difficult right now, not because we couldn't create something for that group, but they're going through a lot of transitions at that age. And so it's difficult to maintain consistency if they're off to college and they only come back every so often.
Right.
Or they have a full-time job and they're not, they're exhausted on the weekends, or they're working on the weekends, so they can't really come to something. So trying to figure out something to service that age group, that's also on the horizon for us.
Yeah. Well, and if they are somebody that's in college, or they're taking a sabbatical for a year before they head back in, I mean, that's an important age too, because I mean, you look at how many people switch majors.
Oh yeah.
Within that, it's when I was in school, I think the average was like 2.5 or 3. So now I'm sure it's got to be at least 3 or 4.
Right. Mine was like 5.
Yeah. So there you go. Exactly. So but to me, I was speech and theater, and then I went to personal financial planning. Left brain, right brain just were fighting each other the whole time. But I mean, that's an important thing to recognize. Is like, okay, this is an important group, and it's not only important because they're in a transitional period of their life, but they might be a good candidate to be able to say, like, you're in the perfect position to, if you're thinking about switching your major, we have the opportunity for you to try this before you ever do it.
Right. And start spending buckets of money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I understand the ability to also have them, and they can't invite them to cocktails.
Right. So we kind of have come up with a compromise for the time being. We have held a workshop every summer called Django Girls. And it's a weekend workshop, 2 days. They come and they start off. They can have as little as zero knowledge of coding.
Yeah.
When they start off, but over those 2 days, they learn how to build a blog.
Oh, nice.
Using Django, which is on a Python backbone. And we are getting ready to introduce a new one this year called NG Girls, Angular Girls, which is JavaScript focused.
Okay.
Doing similar things. I don't know if they've decided if they're going to do the blog or if they're going to do a different project. But basically, you come in with zero knowledge on how to code, and it's free
Mm-hmm.
to attend. We provide your meals.
Nice.
And everything you need. And there's volunteers there, just like at Coding and Cocktails or any other event that we have. And you come in and you sit down and you learn how to do that.
Yeah.
And usually that's manageable. We open that up from 14 up till however old. But we invite everybody to come.
Yeah.
And I think we just started opening up to 14-year-olds last year.
Okay.
And we had a good group.
That's awesome.
Of younger ladies there, just enthusiastic about learning.
That's great.
So that's kind of how we're compromising right now, but we would really like to come up with some kind of more solid program for them.
Well, that's got to be interesting because, you know, your target audience is women, but I mean, 7 to whenever, you know, and so that's got you target just like anything else. You have to target those markets in very, very different ways. And especially when you're trying to target something like what we were just talking about, 17 to 20, that's a very different way to do it than saying, you know, come for this when you're young. You know, you don't want to hang out with 7-year-olds anymore. You want to hang out with people that are your own age. So what has been kind of the process of you creating the, you know, I guess we'll call it ad campaigns where, you know, you're trying to focus on something. I mean, that to me is one of the most complicated things that you can possibly do is when you say, this is the kind of person that I need. And it's not like you have in what you're doing. It's not like you're like, well, I'm looking for somebody that's 24 to 34 years old and they have to be, you know, obviously female, but you know, a CPA because that's what we sell. We sell to CPAs. Like you can't do that. It's not that niche. Like you're trying to find people that are interested in coding. But a lot of people that are interested in coding don't just have that as part of their profile. Like, oh, I'm interested in this because it's new. It's an introduction. So when you're going about that, how have you guys been able to reach out? I mean, obviously you have advocates and things like that, but what's been your kind of your style, your idea, your focus when you're trying to reach out to those people?
The biggest thing has been social media.
Okay.
We almost all of our different programs have their own like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter pages. We also utilize LinkedIn quite a bit. But yeah, that's majority of the focus of our marketing and social media team. Gotcha. Is they're posting at least a few times a week on just what's going on in the community. It could be everything from like a really inspirational article on a lady that learned how to do something crazy in tech, or about our upcoming programs or events that are coming up. And we do a lot of cross promotion internally across those platforms. So if we have a tech talk coming up that's pertinent to the ladies that were just at cocktails a few nights before, we'll say, you know, on that page, we'll say, hey, we've got this event that we really think would be great for you to come and attend. Same for the kids programs. Gotcha. You know, if a girl comes to Coder Dojo and maybe it's a little bit overwhelming for her, we'll say, hey, come try again, and come visit us at Cupcakes, where it's a little bit more intimate for them. Nice. Yeah. And how many people, I think you already said it, but how many of the 7 to 17-year-olds come to those events normally? What's your average? For Coder Dojo, which is boys and girls, we usually get, I'd say, around 80 average. That's 80 kids. Okay. For Cupcakes, we cap that off at 20. Okay. Oh, wow. Yeah. So that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. But usually we'll get around 10 to 15 pairs. That's fantastic. That. Yeah. Very good. So I guess my last question would be if somebody's listening to this right now and they're, you know, even on the fence, which I can't imagine they would be after what you've been saying, because I really do think that this is a wonderful organization. I mean, just to get somebody, you know, even if it's something that's not tech, but it's something involved, like just having the ability to go out, try something new, see if you like it. And if you do, you might fall in love with it. If you don't, you know. But if you have the ear of somebody that's listening to this and just wanting to know a little bit more, wanting to know, you know, that last step, that last push to get in there, what would you tell that individual? To reach out. Yeah. If you're not seeing the answers to your question on our website or our social media pages, send us a Facebook message. Majority of the time it'll be me answering. Or you know, shoot us a message on our website. We have a contact form on there, and just say, hey, I'd just like to know more. Gotcha. And somebody from the leadership team will reach back out and say, hey, what is it that you want to know? Yeah. We've got 2 dedicated membership directors within our organization that deal with just that.
Nice.
Because we get questions all the time.
Yeah.
And if you ever see me or any of the other people on the leadership team, don't hesitate to come up and ask them questions.
Perfect.
We all want to help out as much as we can.
Yeah.
We're like one big family. We all love each other and want everyone to reach for their goals.
Perfect.
And we want to help you get there.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And your website is kcwomenintech.org, Ventura Rangel. And you've got a LinkedIn profile on there too, so I assume somebody could reach out to that as well if they wanted to.
Definitely.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
You bet.